Hi, I am your Mistress of Chaos.
And I'm allll.
And we are here live from JordanCon.
Yes.
Yay! We've got a couple people in the room with us.
Yep.
And we are going to just be doing a live Q&A for the people at home. We wanted you to enjoy a little bit of JordanCon-ness as well as the people here. So just to catch everybody up, this podcast is called Time to Roll the Dice. It's a Wheel of Time 4th Age D&D-ish RPG.
Yep.
We've taken the base rules of D&D, mostly because I'm lazy and I don't literally want to write my own code for my own system. We've created characters that are based 100 years after the conclusion of the book, so after the last battle, and we've created an adventure based off of all the shenanigans that are going on in the world. The specific setting is Malkier.
Yes.
We're up in the northern part of Malkier. I really wanted to base our game there just because it has Malkier was this extinct nation for the entirety of the books, and we get a little bit of lore from Lan and all of his contemporaries. People reminisce about Malkier, but we don't really get to see it. So I wanted to go up there so we can start experience the culture. Lan is one of the most respected characters in the book, and I think there's a lot of honor that comes around, a lot of honor and just legends off of Malkier. So I wanted to explore that culture a little bit as they rebuild the nation of Malkier. Also, see what the heck's going on up in the Blight after the last battle. So in the campaign, it's no longer called the Blight. So the Blight itself was in my head, I saw it as a plague that was upon the land and the creatures. So after what happens with the Dark One. So full spoilers, by the way, everybody.
Yep.
Full spoilers, yes. Yeah. So after Rand traps the Dark One, cleans everything up, the plague itself that is attached to the Dark One just disappears. But all of the flora and fauna that Agenor and some of his minions created still exist in the world. So they basically have been freed up and are still roaming wild. They're actually starting to migrate south about 100 years after the last battle. So some people, down in the Southlands know about it, but all of that is there. So it just seemed like, especially there aren't in the Wheel of Time, there aren't really that many creatures per se. We do have a couple, but it's mostly humans that are the scary bad guys.
Yeah.
So, and we know our RPGs, we like our creatures, so monsters. Yes. So where is a better place to get monsters than up in the former Blight, now called the Wilderness? So that is the setting. And at this point, I know, there's a whole bunch of people in chat. Hi, everybody. Sorry, Carrie, I see you're there. Hopefully I'm not spoiling anything for you. Although you're right there at the end of the books. So,
a lot of things.
Yeah. So, and Adalorna is one of my players. Right now we only have 6 episodes out because per D&D fashion,
nobody can ever get together at the same time.
We literally scheduled one for last Friday and we were online. And one of the players, she was trying so hard, Kat, and she was just she was trying so hard to be there, but it's just you could tell her migraine had just kicked in.
Yeah.
And it was okay, no, we can't do this to you. So as much as we all want to play, as much as you want to play, let's just, it's not worth risking your health.
Exactly.
So, chat, if you have any questions, let us know. I'll happily answer any of those, or anybody here in the room. I can easily just talk about this, which, I'm not a chatty person. I don't have a podcast or anything where I just talk and bullshit. No. But I really want, I've been planning this for over 2 years. We did, the core original group did a test campaign to help me flex out the rules. So we set that in the breaking. And so I've completely rewritten how magic is cast, because in the Wheel of Time, you have to embrace the source. So there's rules with that. There's rules with how to learn how to channel. There's rules with over channeling.
Yes.
So if you run out of spell slots, you can still channel. Or if you only have up to a level 4 spell, you can attempt a level 9 spell if you want to. But there are consequences.
Yeah.
There are extreme consequences. And so then that's just one example of how things have changed. There are pew pew guns.
Yeah.
They're kind of Civil War era style rifles, pistols, that type of stuff. So we've got mechanics for that and all that sort of stuff. So any questions so far from anyone?
Well, my first question was going to be how far advanced technology has gone, but you're saying so flintlock basically.
Flint for guns, yes. Yes. So crap, I forgot the word that we use for guns. I'm such a great doom. Yes, mini dragons are like the pistols.
That makes sense.
Yes. So they and they're up to the more complicated ones are getting up to being able to shoot 2 or 3. So you basically have 2 or 3 barrels, but it's still a single shot. You're still packing the powder. They haven't quite advanced to magazines or rotating revolvers, although probably within this campaign or the next campaign, it's Alluja's Fire Stick company that obviously has the highest quality of various mini dragons and is constantly evolving and putting out new products. But that being said, there is other advanced technology. There are the steel wagons that you see at the end of the series that are starting to move caravans. Those are much more prevalent and are connecting major cities. So one thing I did that, and this actually hasn't really come up yet in the campaign, the White Tower and the Black Tower it took them about 30 years to combine. So 30 years ABL or ALB after last battle. So that's how our new annotation is. The towers combined, but all of the knowledge that were in some of those ter'angreal that had the towers are keeping those locked tight because there was a major accident as they were trying to advance technology, and they just realized that they needed to slowly catch up and learn. So per the tower style, they're keeping some of that stuff secret. On the same note, because channeling is much more open to the population in general, they have started forming channeling guilds to optimize people's ability to make quality of life better. So they're in larger cities, there is active plumbing, and the people who have affinity for using the weave of water are part of the guild to just make sure that the water systems work, and people who have affinity for fire are there to help heat the houses and things like that. So it is borderline indentured servitude, though. So they're low-level channelers. They haven't qualified for the tower. They haven't qualified for any of the academies. So they're doing more menial labor based off of an innate skill set that they have. So
how did you really come up with this idea to combine Wheel of Time and D&D? Because it's such a unique idea.
I feel like there actually was a RPG game written back in the mid-90s. So it wasn't D&D per se. And that's where I borrowed some of those rules and re-wickered it. That world was set in the books themselves. And the channelers were just very overpowered. But I feel like, especially if you're a fan of playing D&D or other RPGs and you read these books, you're always wanting to be like, oh, how would I do a game in that world? So when you start fantasizing about it, and I do know people who have favorite book series and they do play campaigns in their book series. Twatcast has a D&D game that is set in the Eye of the World setting. They haven't changed any of the rules. It's Twatcast. They do whatever the heck they want to do.
Yeah.
Like, we all know them. So, so like, that's just an example of inspiration for we have an aspiring DM in here, everybody. So we've been nerding out before we started about a couple of her campaigns, and she has some really good questions. So I'm very excited and happy that you're here. So you can find inspiration from anywhere. And one of my favorite things, as I'm reading books or watching TV shows, I do have on my notes on my phone, it's called D&D ideas. And it's just, I annotate, like, if it's a show, what episode it is, or a book, what chapter it's in. And I just have this very long list of ideas that I find inspiring that I could either create a storyline to, or, a plot point or something that I want for one of my characters. Before the campaign, I did a complete reread of the series, and that spreadsheet has over 1,000 lines of notes from the Wheel of Time in it, of stuff that I knew that I would want to make sure that I'm anchoring my world in as I move forward. So that was part of my research process for this, was a very quick reread last year before JordanCon. While I would be like heading home from the grocery store, carrying all my bags. I would literally attempt to pause my book, put down my bags, pull out my phone, like type a note real quick.
Yeah.
I looked like an absolute maniac. Not that that's different than any other time.
I was like, is that not the same normal?
So have you been monitoring? Will you monitor chat, see if there's any questions?
I haven't seen a lot of questions yet.
Okay.
I think
Can we ask you? Yes, Glenn, you can ask anything.
Yeah. It's the zebra tower.
Yes. They just call it the tower now.
Yeah.
So the towers, and one of the things about the towers, because traveling exists, that there are, so there's the primary black tower in Andor. Mm-hmm. The white tower is obviously still in Tarvalon, but they are starting to branch out more in the world. Mm-hmm. So in the first 2 or 3, I think it's the second episode or maybe the third episode, you actually see an Aes Sedai come into our game, and she's based out of the town of New Hope, and she actually heals one of the characters because they misfire a gun. They misfire a mini dragon and burn their hand.
Oh,
so
they misfire something.
Yes, misfires do happen, especially with those older weapons, and especially if they are not Eluja Fire Stick level, because that is the best quality of weapon that you can get. So here we go. I think this is it. So the magnet moment of an election would be okay, Glenn, D&D related, this podcast related. Yes. Sheesh, I guess I should watch my words.
Yeah.
In the Fourth Age, what is the status on gifts with capital G, like Wolf Brother, Wolf Sister? Are there more, less?
There are more. And that is one of the ways that I'm working around a lot of the D&D-esque, like, paladins paladins can channel, but like barbarians, having rage or things like that. Mm-hmm. So talents and gifts are a soft magic. So, and that's one of the reasons I really do love Wheel of Time, because it has a hard magic system and a soft magic system. Mm-hmm. And I really want to tap into that. So, it totally exists. I don't yet have a player who is Wolfkin. So, although I think a new player that we're pulling in might want to explore that. So, very excited about that. Yes. We have talked about, this is Matt Stagger. He's talked about, explain what you said to me yesterday.
I was just very much interested on what a wolf brother would be like in that age, and specifically how, since they are increasing industrialization, maybe that would decrease the amount of wolves, and would that drive a wolf brother maybe further into the wildlands where they have to spend more time in order to feel comfortable. So I'd love to explore that.
Yeah, and what I responded to him yesterday, as we were like completely crowding an aisle in the dealer's hall, we were not completely blocking that row at all.
No.
Was after the last battle, because the borderlands had been completely decimated, most of the population moved to the cities that were not completely collapsed, which was in the Southlands. So they moved the population down there the crops were wiped out. Just people were sick, hurt. The large percentage of the population was directly involved in the battle, and channelers were exhausted. So it took them months to get to the point where they could really start healing people properly. So it was a lot of old school, like non-magical medical care that needed to be given. So in order, the surviving leaders and the leadership of the towers consolidated the entire population down in the Southlands in order to just be able to manage logistics. So be able to feed people and conversely be able to get a labor force to start building back up the rest of the world. And so from there, that's where the populations have really started to grow. So basically, Camelin, Kyrian, and North there's now 100 years later, are starting to rebuild. They are starting to be reestablished. But the borderlands are really like, they're the wild, wild west. They're the frontier. So all of that, north of all of that, has just gone completely back to wilderness. So
Okay, we got something.
woo, yay, questions.
I don't know if it showed.
Ask me.
Because I don't know how to do that.
You press
This
show.
one?
Oh, this
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Press show.
Oh, there we go. Cool.
You press the button that says show.
Oh, God.
I know,
So
technology.
difficult.
The question from Glenn is, did you create classes for the game, or are you using the existing classes with modifications? That is an excellent question.
Mm-hmm.
It is the first. Because
it's a lot to create.
It's a lot to create your own classes. So we use, for our character sheets, we do use D&D Beyond.
Mm-hmm.
I just find it the easiest way to go in. We have completely tailored them though.
Yes.
So I am using the existing classes. We did create new races. Mm-hmm. So for the people's nationalities, we have created attributes for them.
Yeah.
So that is different. So like Beth's character, she's Kandori. Mm-hmm. So Kandori are known for haggling.
Yeah.
So basically anytime she's haggling or trying to convince somebody, she gets an automatic bonus to that. So it's not even, she doesn't even have to roll for it. So she just almost automatically succeeds for the most part. Mm-hmm. So that's a benefit of being a Kandori. Mm-hmm. That being said, with these, I told everybody, I was like, don't really worry about the classes.
Yeah.
Because I can work within the bounds of the classes. Think about what you want your character to be and what the attributes within the classes are. So specifically the subclasses, right. Because that's what we really wanted to get down to get the flavor of what people were looking for. So like Beth's a ranger. So and rangers do have some magic-y, wagic-y stuff, but but some of it's not just channeling. So, but then there's ways to create feats that I can, and I've told them, I don't care about those roles. So we're not adding feats at 4th level. Mm-hmm. We're doing it whenever it makes sense. Right. So, and I don't know if we want to. No. Okay. Now, just like, what can I say?
What can we say right now?
What can I say?
Secret.
There's always another secret. Wait, wrong series, but it's still applicable.
Yes.
So again, it's like when I say D&D, it's such a hand wave.
Yeah.
Another reason I wanted to stick with D&D is the tabletop. The remote tabletop that I use is a program called Foundry.
Yeah.
And Foundry has some really amazing modules that you can add to it. And so if you're existing within a world, you get automatic access to this. And when we've only done one real battle, but what I love about it is when somebody attacks, there's these like cool little graphics that happen. It just makes it fun, especially since this is a YouTube podcast. And people do get to see what's on the screen. I want it to be entertaining for the viewers and not just us.
Right.
So like having those fun graphics, we make sure that the chat's up all the time so you guys can see our roles.
Yeah.
And I've told them several times, I'm just like, okay, so we're going to like smooth this out because it's not fun when, like there's things that happen at a tabletop that just doesn't make a good show, if that makes sense. So things that I wouldn't do in a typical D&D game, I'm like, okay, so I do, before every session, I do a little brief about where the goals are. But then, of course, they do whatever the heck they want to do anyways, because D&D.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but we have a general direction about what is happening in the game. So, and, again, D&D.
Yes.
So.
How are you liking Foundry? Have you tried other platforms?
Yes, that is a great question, Winner Lies. I really love Foundry. I've used Roll20 in the past. And Roll20, I do play as a character on the Knights Who Say Chill, and they use Roll20. And since I haven't been using it, they have made a lot of the similar updates to Roll20. I just find it a little less intuitive, and I do like the customizations via the modules on Foundry. I haven't played any other game besides D&D on Roll20, but I do know you can. It's just, for me, it's a little bit more clunky. Plus, one thing that I do like about Foundry is, as the DM, I have it downloaded onto my laptop.
Yeah.
So I don't have to have internet to go in and do the things to build stuff. Like if I have pictures and all that sort of stuff downloaded onto Foundry already, I can be in a cab going to the airport or go to a coffee shop. And I mean, most coffee shops have Wi-Fi, but it's not always great. So I can go and work basically anywhere on the game and not have to worry about my connectivity. I just have to worry about my battery life. That's a different problem. But no, and the customizations on Foundry is really what got me, especially for having a podcast. We've got a carousel, a combat carousel at top that we can pop in and out. There's a lot. It's easy. The effects that I can do. The third episode. So if anybody's seen through the third episode, they combat a fire. So the players have to go save civilians.
Right.
And so the fire keeps growing, and it was very easy, and the fire is dynamic and it's moving, and it was very easy to make it grow and just add things in. And for me, Foundry was a little bit more intuitive than Roll20.
Okay.
It took me a little bit. The first tabletop that I used was Roll20, so maybe it's just me remembering the growing pains of I don't know what I'm doing. I've never DM'd, and now I have this thing that I have to learn.
Well, this thing though, also between Roll20 and Foundry, Roll20 you don't have to upload your character sheet or do any of that kind of stuff from D&D Beyond, but Foundry you do.
Yes, well, you can. You don't have to. So, but because of the podcast, my other game, I've got an all women's game, and I've told them that they have the option to upload it, but they don't have to. So sometimes some of them don't even have a character sheet in D&D Beyond. That one is much more laid back. It's just whatever's easiest for them, but they just need to have their character sheet available during the game. Some of them have chosen to have me upload their character sheets into Foundry. But again, I wanted it very consistent for the podcast. So that is the only reason that I do as much as I've hand waved some of the roles. I'm also you shall do this. Yes. So my players are so patient with me. Any more questions?
How many players are there so far, and what are their racing costs?
Okay, so I will tell you the characters. Some of the characters' race and classes are
Secret weak wit.
So, but I'll tell you where they're fromish. I'm not going to speak for you.
Okay, cool.
Because you're probably my most secret-y character.
Absolutely. Okay, so Rebecca Narva is from the Borderlands. She travels all over. She has spent a lot of time in Shinar and Malkir. So that would be what her race is. The sub of human.
Yes.
And let's see. She is a trader, so she's just everywhere in the Borderlands.
Not a traitor.
A trader.
A person to merchants.
Yeah, a merchant. Yeah, I should say merchant. Yeah.
And then Beth's character, she is a Kandori Ranger. She's from the Borderlands. She has revealed in the show that she can channel. She did go to the White Tower, but chose not to take her novice test. So she's up back in the Borderlands. Basically, think like Texas Rangers. So that's kind of what she's a member of the Black Owls. And so that is what she does. And then we've got Andrew from Black Tower Podcast, who plays a Tyron. He is a member of one of the Dragon Academies and is a channeler, but plays an artificer, which has been fun too. So like creates little mini ter'angreals. So it's very fascinating. So exploring that part of it. So now that there is the knowledge back on how to create ter'angreals, that is something that I'm really excited that as we get further dabbling in a little bit more. And then we have Kat, who is a Othen Mare channeler, who is doing an apprenticeship at the academy up in New Hope in Malkir. So she has come up from her ship and not enjoying being on land, and
horses are hard.
Horses are difficult. Freshwater fish is disgusting.
Yeah.
So it's cold. Yeah. Even though all the Borderlanders like, oh, it's a warm spring. She's freezing. And then we have Tom DeSimone from Dragon Mount, who is an Ogier. Who he's got a long memory, so it seems like he's been around for a while. Yeah. And that's all I'm going to tell you about his character.
Yep.
And also joining us, so she hasn't been on one of the episodes that has been released yet, but Amerlin Seat Jess, who is playing a freed Domine. So just... that's all I'm going to say about her also.
Yep.
Just like, wait, what did we say? Nope, you guys haven't heard any of that? Okay. No. And we do have one or two more people that may or may not be joining. So we'll see. I started with, and then Morshadi, who was here earlier, started the campaign with us, did a couple of test runs, and then just life was happening, so had to step away. But he was playing a Shan Chan soldier, just a common soldier who was retired and coming over, leaving the territories of Shan Chan and coming into the East Westlands. Yeah. Which direction is that? The Westlands.
Which one?
Yes. So the Western Bloc and the Eastern Bloc. There is a big divide. Yeah. So
we've talked a little bit about ter'angreal and other magical objects.
They are much more prevalent among the common people than they were in the time of the books, because the time of the books, for the most part, they were either kept by the White Tower or they were locked away in storerooms somewhere, not for anybody to use. Right. So because the academies exist and channelers are part of the academies, not necessarily tied to the White Tower, those skills have transferred. So, for example, sending stones, difficult to make, but have become among cities and more wealthy people are common. So and this is getting into like it's becoming a very classist society because of things like this. So depending on your skill level as a channeler, you're either a valued commodity, or if you're not a skilled channeler, you are there to support the skilled channelers in a lower class. And then the people who have wealth are able to afford these commodities. So they're able to afford to hire somebody to come into their house and move the water around for the plumbing and keep all the rooms heated and monitor those weaves. But getting back to your questions, they are more common, but because of the classist nature that's dividing the whole world, even though they exist more, they're not common to average folk.
Yes.
I hope that answers your question.
I think that's kind of. We got another couple of questions here.
Okay. I don't think anyone would very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else? Anything from our aspiring DM? Yeah.
Oh, good.
Cool.
Definitely watch the next episode though, because
you've got a couple more episodes.
Oh, there's a couple more episodes?
There's a couple more episodes.
Oh my god.
There's at least 2 or 3 more episodes. So my goal is to be releasing these every 2 weeks. We just released episode 6 the Monday before, so 5 days ago, 6 days ago. So not 3 days from now, because I'm going to be too exhausted from JordanCon to do anything. The week after will be the next episode.
Okay. Which episode am I on? I'm the important.
I haven't added it yet.
Oh,
I don't know.
Gosh.
Yes. I had saved up a bunch of episodes from that we had recorded late last year, just knowing that I wanted a little bit of depth. Like give me a little squishy room before I start releasing things and panic about scheduling sessions.
I feel that.
Yeah. So giving myself a little grace and a little wiggle room. I'm not surprised with Nyx.
Yes, well, some of these people know me quite well. I'm always the secret weaker character.
Yes. It's fun though.
She's got a lot of surprises.
I won't say what happened, but when she got introduced, we were about an hour into playing with Nyx, and the party separated, and then Nyx was like, "Can I do the thing?
Can I do the thing?
Can I do the thing?" I was like, "You totally do the thing." So she's like, "So I want to go talk to my buddy." I was like, "Okay, let's go talk to your buddy. What is your name? Your buddy's name? Like, let me make up a name on the fly. That's not stressful at all." And everybody else on the screen, when they started doing their thing, was like, it was, I didn't see it when we were role playing, but when I went back and rewatched, I was watching everybody's faces and I was just dying laughing because it was so funny. And nobody knows what's going on yet. So,
I mean, I know what's going on. And you know what's going on.
I mostly know what's going on. Let's face it. The DM rarely ever actually knows what's going on. But you just roll with it. So, cool. All right. So I think that is all. Thank you, Asha Kova. So I really appreciate it. Yes, I had to wear my Raven Trolloc cosplay for this because, again, I'm not extra ever. Ever.
No.
No. So do you have any questions for me about the game or rules?
When are we recording next?
Dude, who the hell knows?
No, I'm just really happy to be in a Wheel of Time D&D.
Yeah. And I will brag about my players for a little bit. I have kind of been a little selective about who I chose because one of my favorite things as a DM is to be lazy and just sit back and let the players do their things. And that has been one of the most joyous things about this campaign and this podcast is because I really can just sit back and they do the whole story for me. All I do is as an NPC, I'm just basically like filling in the blanks of the history and the rules, and they're the ones progressing the story along. It's really not me doing any of the work. So yeah, and it's just like they're hilarious. Their banter is amazing. They roll terribly, which is hilarious. That is another one of my favorite things. Like, it's when the players roll poorly, and it's like, well, now we get to have fun.
Yeah.
You know, when you succeed, whatever, cool. You get what you want, or so you think.
Yeah.
But
You gotta always have that little twist the knife moment.
yeah. Oh, Beth rolled poorly and got drunk,
Oh my god.
which I believe is in episode 6 that just got released.
Nice.
So if you want to see Beth's character making really bad life choices, watch episode 6.
And there may or may not be accents in the future.
Olvan has an accent.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
I attempt to do accents, and then so I do apologize ahead of time for anybody when I completely like they will change. I will not be consistent with my accents. So because I'll start off with one, and then I'll migrate to something else, and then it's just whatever that thing is.
Yep.
So like, I've got a lot of skills. Accents is definitely not one of them.
Yes.
So awesome.
Great.
Well, I think we are. Ashikova has a wonderful comment. Yes.
Oh yeah.
How long did it take me to prep and outline the story?
Oh.
The story itself is something I've been mulling over so I've been working on this for about 2 years. Tom DeSimone approached me about doing this about 2 years ago. So he and I started building the rules. And that's when I started, we debated whether or not it'd be beneficial to set it in the time that the books encapsulate, maybe previous history. And then we settled on the Fourth Age, because then we're not really butting up against any canon. And I was also very concerned about possible copyright infringements. So if I'm taking something that Robert Jordan and Brandon Sanderson wrote directly, then I was a little worried about where that might lead. So 100 years after, it like touches the canon, the books, the shit that's copyrighted.
Yep.
But also it's like it's completely different, and there's not very often where we're directly referring to things that happened in the books. Yeah. So like most of the characters have died at this point because it's 100 years later. Most of the channelers are still around that survived. But anyways, so from there, we also did a test campaign. So as we were co-building, it was kind of a 3-pronged process. So we were building the rule set, then we started a test campaign that was set in the breaking, and kind of, I would do a chat with the players afterwards, be like, because I would try to flex specific rules. So each game had a purpose on the specific rules that I wanted to test. So it was like each session was crafted around flexing those the changes from core 5e. So as I was creating that story and creating the rules, I was brainstorming the Fourth Age about, how far along we wanted it to be, and building out the history. And there are things that I think exist in the world that haven't been tapped yet. So there are things that I'm building to, but there's also a lot of the story right now is driven by the society that it has been built around. So I've talked about how the vast majority of channelers are almost second, third class citizens. And so there's a whole thing on that. And the Furies, which is a terrorist organization that has been mentioned several times, that group, actually, the White Cloaks dissolved. In my history, this isn't in the books. Bye, thank you for joining us. So after the last battle, Galad realizes that there isn't really a need for the white cloaks anymore, and he dissolves them. But some of them don't appreciate. Some of the children of light don't appreciate that thought, and basically form cells in this terrorist organization called the Furies that are that are combating the sentiment that channelers need to exist in the world. So basically do targeted strikes. And so the fire that starts in New Hope in episode 3 has been theorized that has been set by the Furies. There's also the Sharans, who still exist and are waging a slow guerrilla war against the Westlands. So that group exists. And then so there's just a lot of little social aspects that are changing. Fun bits. One of the mysteries that the team, so there's 2 mysteries that the team has been assigned in episode 6. You get this. So they're investigating the fires that happened in New Hope, but also there's been a lot of disappearances over the winter in the Borderlands. So they were given the task to investigate both of those things and report back, just whatever information. So using my, the Ogier knows people. So Tom's character, Reet, has been asked by the mayor to go investigate that. And the leader of the Black Owls, Warden Guerrera, has asked Beth's character, Avori, to do that. And they're dragging their friends along with them. So, so it's a lot of social things, but there are other aspects. So speaking of talents and ter'angreal and all of that, so all of that is contributing to the tasks and the capabilities that the team that's going to influence what happens to the team in the future. So cool. Yeah, I'm so excited to finally be talking with people about this. Yes. I've been thinking about it so long. That was a great question, Ashikofa. Thank you. All right, let's go through the notes a little bit more. Oh, you're so welcome. Cracksmantics. Sorry, I don't have my glasses on. I can't see what I'm writing. And so it really is. It's just meant to be fun. We're in the middle we're just at the beginning of the next set of longings. So hoping to continue the story a little bit and just give people fun new stuff to listen to and watch. We do have a pseudo Patreon. It's on Fourth Wall. I forgot to put it at the bottom. I will add it to the description of this video. But one of the things that I want to eventually do is do a whole bunch of one-shots. So I have that help build out the world and flesh out the world, to help tell the stories of what has happened in the past 100 years, some pivotal points. So that's what I was talking with Matt Stagger about, the Wolf Brothers. Since I don't have any Wolf Brother players, I do have ideas for one-shots based around the Wolfkin and what happened, and Perrin finding, maybe not Perrin, maybe Elias. Because again, trying not to touch some of the core characters, but how do these things evolve? But so getting some people on. So depending on what Patreon level, you can help me invent characters, help me invent places, help me invent storylines, because there's so much to explore. And I really try to empower. Adalorna has helped me flesh out a part that I've been wanting to work on with her characters. So so there are, and it's just again, there's just so many ideas about all the directions that this story can go. I've even got ideas for a second campaign, because I have there's so many ideas. I'm just it might be a little bit too much for one campaign. There's only so much you really should pack in, otherwise it's just overwhelming. So so thank you all for joining. Really appreciate you. Yes. So and check us out. We are on this channel. It's Malgear Talks under the we actually have a playlist, so it's time to roll the dice. So we've got 6 episodes out, and that's it.
Thanks for coming.
All right, have a great day. We'll talk to all of you later. Bye. Is it ended? Continue. I don't know. I don't know what it's doing. Wait, have we ended? No, we haven't ended. No, we still haven't ended. That's technology.
Yep. Technical difficulties are always a